Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's Your Impact Attack. Who are you? You are the C in the VBC, the chat. And looks like we're going to have an interesting episode here today because uh, we've got a few things to talk about. And by a few, I mean a very, very
Sis
few.
Smith. Sis
Sis,
Smith.
man, so who's that? That is Brandon, my co-host every single week. The B in the VBC. What is up, Brandon?
Not much, man. Dude, like watching this week's show, I kept getting reminded of, man, this reminds me of that really, really, really bad episode of Collision we watched the other week. And it's like, fuck, we're watching that shit again. But we made something out of it, and we're gonna do it again this week. So what's up? Whoop whoop.
There we go. We're gonna make lemonade. We're gonna make chicken salad. We're gonna do everything that we can.
Lemon
Um,
chicken salad.
lemon chicken. Lemon chicken salad. Oh my god! I think we've just invented something. We're gonna have to take this episode down until we get all of our patents and trademarks set aside. Uh, I'm Jamie Williams, sometimes known as the Vet, and we are going to do our best to give you this show. So, oh, yeah. And, on top of that, as if that wasn't bad enough, I'm looking at the current wrestling headlines, and everything is just talking about full gear, full gear, full gear, full gear, full gear this, full gear that. Nothing that's actual news. Nothing has happened, I don't think. Um, and Full Gear there's not even that much news coming out of it, right? So it's like, yeah, um, just not the best. But we don't have a lot of material to work with. Is what we're trying to say right up top. So if you guys out there and who do we have with us, because we're still dealing with interesting YouTube issues with HMG, but what channel are we on? I don't even know what channel we're on YouTube right now.
We are currently on the ridiculously random YouTube show, but
Oh,
we somehow got our Impact Attack background up. So, I'm not really sure what's going on, but
hmm.
we'll take it.
Well, if anybody's here, we've seen a Retro Rocket review. We've seen Lisbeth. Who knows? They could be the only ones joining. I think the ridiculously random channel has like 10 subscribers. So, and I bet 3 of those are Ray and Colin accounts. So, uh, I I don't really know what the viewership is like. Maybe some people on Twitch will join in too. Um, who knows? But that's okay. The important thing is this episode is for Channel Attitude, and that's what the real focus is anyways. You guys, hopefully you're doing your due diligence and signing up to everything Channel Attitude has. Lots of content, and this is definitely one of those things that you could get on Channel Attitude for $4.95 a month on the Bin Hameen side. And even if you don't look, all right. Even if you don't want to sign up for Channel Attitude, all right, you could go to the page, right, and you could see the wonderful profiles for people such as Brandon, such as myself, and like look at the layout there and see how they've done everything for the staff, and it's a really cool thing. Check it out. I guarantee you, Brandon, some of these people have never even gone to Channel Attitude because they get this free live. Um, but if you go and check it out, like it's pretty. The website is pretty. Just go and look. It costs nothing to look, as Jim Ross says. And go to jarsbarbecue.com too while you're at it. Check out to get that jalapeno honey mustard. But enough
Damn, that
shilling.
sounds good.
It does, doesn't it? Enough shilling. I would say let's talk about what's been going on in wrestling. Nothing's been going on in wrestling. I didn't even watch Full Gear, at least not yet. I've just seen a little part of it. I saw a match from it. I didn't watch the whole show. Everybody's talking about people drinking blood and all this stuff, and I was like, all right. Will Ospreay got signed, even though he was constantly been on AEW television, so it doesn't really matter. Um, there's nothing else. There's nothing really to talk about. So there's no wrestling news. Do you have any news?
I mean, I guess the only thing you could say is news is Will Ospreay signing with AEW,
Mm-hmm.
but we kind of knew that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm. So I was just looking at something that was saying, one of the very slim pickings of news articles that was worth a damn, and I saw that and clicked on it to see because they claimed that they had details in his contract. And so what they were saying was that it was a 3-year deal. They're saying he can stay living in the UK, which was a concern of his. He didn't want to move to the United States, but he was willing to consider it if that was just, like if WWE made him some great offer he couldn't refuse. I guess he would. I guess I'll come and live in America, um, but with this, he'll be able to continue living in the UK. He'll also be able to continue working with New Japan on selected dates because they have a working relationship anyway. Basically, everybody has a working relationship, kind of, that's not WWE. So if he went to WWE, he would not be able to go to New Japan for any particular reason, really, I don't think. Um,
Which I think is one of the flaws of WWE is not acknowledging what happens on the outside. But because I think WWE could have a well of character and storyline to draw from if they would acknowledge what happens outside of their company.
yeah, it would only help everyone. This isn't the 80s
Right.
anymore,
Right.
right? Like
And
the takeover's finished. There's nothing left to do. But now with the internet, the world is connected in ways that it wasn't before. So it just looks silly when you bring a person in that's made a name for themselves, change their name, change everything about them, pretend that they have no history. And then when they try to acknowledge history with people, then you got people in outsiders that are saying like, why am I supposed to care if these guys had a rivalry in 2017 or something? Like, it's like, well, that's because WWE has trained you to think that way, right?
right. And there is money to be made off that if you just tell the backstory. I mean, like, what smaller, company wouldn't be like, oh, WWE wants to use our footage and give us credit to build one of their angles? Yeah, go ahead, use it. Like, you'd
Mm-hmm.
be stupid not to.
And especially for people that the WWE has no interest in using, that are they're still under contract, but you're not on television, you're not being used, you're not featured in a story. You mean to tell me you couldn't give somebody to somebody else, let them use them, hype them up, give them something to talk about? And the stuff that's on Raw and SmackDown and whatever, it's not like you have to dedicate entire segments of your television show to those other companies. It just mentions from the announcers or a couple of still photos here and there. It's like, if I was WWE, hello, my name is WWE. Hello. If I was in charge of that and Ronda Rousey shows up at a Ring of Honor taping or something, I'd be like, former WWE champion Ronda Rousey, look where she showed up this week. Ring of Honor at a surprise. We wish Ronda Rousey the best of her luck in Ring of Honor. Is like just 10 seconds to acknowledge, and then people be like, oh, Ring of Honor, what Google, and then all of a sudden you got some interest, and then you got people checking out new things. The people that are going to scoff at it, they're going to scoff at it anyways, but at least there's plenty of people that don't even have a chance to scoff at it because they don't even know. So,
And that speaks to a lesson I hear Ben talk about all the time. A rising tide lifts all ships. If WWE would use their power and influence to help elevate the smaller promotions and the ones that are beneath them, that can only do better for them as a whole overall.
yep.
Like, think of it as a long-term investment in themselves.
Exactly, it is, and it's not like a real financial investment. Even it's a
No.
slight time investment for the things that you know. And of course, people are always gonna whatever excuses people would give to why it couldn't happen is just people that are brainwashed by WWE and all their, the way they rewrite history, the way they have their own agendas and all this other stuff. Look, They used to be a territory just like everybody else. So, yeah. So, what was our point? Oh yeah, Will Ospreay. So he's, you know, he's just he signed a different contract. That's basically it. But he's going to be doing the same stuff. So please look forward to Will Ospreay flipping into a town near you. We're going to talk about Will later on. He's our main event. Not only for their show, but for our show, I guess. I guess we're talking about Will Ospreay as a main event. So that's, I guess, the relevance of this story. And other than that, yeah, got anything.
No, but I will go ahead and just conclude some of the major storylines that I was kind of going with the punching up impacts.
Oh, all right.
Yep. The whole thing with D'Amore and the Motor City Machine Guns and Moose is going to culminate with the whole TNA rebrand actually happening at the conclusion of Bound for Glory, with D'Amore basically saying like, all right, Moose is committed to us, so I'm committing to Moose. He is my guy. We set this whole thing up ourselves. We were behind everything. And that's basically who I'm going with. Sorry, guys, he committed to me, so I'm committing to him, and that's the direction we're heading.
So was Moose the attacker, or
Yes. And it was D'Amore who stole the security tapes.
because who better to have access to these tapes?
Yep, and
Than
that's
the
why
guy
we
with
had
the headsets on all the time.
and that's why we had the shots of Shelley and Sabin exiting D'Amore's office, so that way kind of suspect it might be one of these guys who did it. But really, they were just looking for him, and he just wasn't there.
I see. Why? It all makes sense. And they would have got away with it. Oh, no, wait. They did get away with it.
They did, yeah.
And we got away with it, too, because we run the company. You meddling kids.
Yep,
So,
and then we were going to have the whole thing with Crazy Steve and the Death Dolls culminate with James Mitchell returning and him kind of using
cocaine?
No, we're gonna cut we're cutting that out. We're not Billy Corgan.
Okay, using
we're gonna actually play off past angles, story, and character to be like, you know, this guy used to kind of be your boss. He has something hanging over your head. He works for your dad, and your dad's calling the shots. So if you don't do what we say, well, then bad shit's gonna happen.
Nice.
And then that would eventually lead to Sue Young coming back as a babyface to free the Death Dolls.
I see. All right. So Rich Swann reunited with his...
Yes, he would actually get involved with this too. So, as crazy as that might sound.
All right.
Because what's he doing right now with Callahan gone?
Just dancing sometimes. Yeah.
So he'd be the main guy feuding with Crazy Steve.
Okay. There. Yeah. See. It's just that simple.
Yep.
Somehow I don't get a picture for some reason. Like, I picture you over the past weeks and everything, with everything going on. I really don't see you sitting there really agonizing about this for hours and hours about what are you going to do in this fake Impact storyline. I feel like this stuff just came to you after just a little bit of thought.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit off the top of my head. Like, oh, like it could be so easy to go like this direction. Be like, oh, that would make actually way more sense. And then it's just from there it's developing it.
Well, yeah, it sounds...
and then for
it sounds better than what we've been seeing. That's for damn sure.
Yep. And then for the X Division title, we'd find some way to get Leo Rush back in there and have him be the guy going after Sabin.
I see. Okay. A little insult to injury. You're not only are you getting the shit kicked out of you and we're rebranding into TNA, but I want another piece of you, Chris Sabin. Goldberg 98.
And plus, like, Leo Rush, he is shown so much character, so much charisma. Like, fuck, man, we got to find something for him.
Yeah. Poor Leo Rush. He can't, like, stuff keeps happening to prevent him from getting that really, really major run like he deserves. He's had some good runs here and there, but circumstances and health and whatever else is just sort of, life gets in the way sometimes, unfortunately. We all know
Unfortunately.
that.
Yep.
But hopefully he's doing well, and hopefully we'll see him back soon. The last I heard, I have not really been, trying to dig into Leo Rush's life or anything, but the last I heard, he was scheduled to be a part of the New Japan light junior heavyweight championship match, and then he had to pull out due to an illness, and then there was a last minute substitution from his tag team partner, and then I think that they were supposed to be in the junior tag league tournament together, but it was coming right after that, so he just wasn't able to do that either. So I don't really know what's been up with his status after that, but
Sounds like just a string of personal bad luck, which sucks. Absolutely sucks. And I feel for the guy. Hope he can get that straightened out and get back on TV and in the ring.
right. And these days, when someone says an illness, you just never know what people purposely keep it vague. Especially in Japan. Japan does not broadcast people's personal business the way, America does. So they say the minimum of what they have to, and then you just never really know because they don't bring it up usually later. So if you just happen to be sick for a couple of weeks at the, let's say you get a flu or anything like that, and it just happens to be coinciding with your upcoming title match and then the start of a 3-week long tournament, then even if you'd be ready pretty soon into the tournament, but you can't start at the beginning, that means you have to miss the whole thing. So, that's an unfortunate series of events, but hey, if he could come back to Impact at some point and do something, that would be a welcome addition, because they got plenty of guys that can do those type of matches, but they don't have that many guys that can work. So,
and have that level of personality.
Right. Yeah. Well, yes. So, right. So we got that. Any other angles planned for, or was that?
I don't know. I was kind of thinking of having something with like Shaw kind of going like, what the fuck to Demore? Like, this is not like the person I knew. Like, this is not the Scott I know. And it's kind of like this is business.
This is not the person I hooked up with. Well, I mean, you would definitely want to do that. You would want to acknowledge things like that.
But I think they've stated like they don't want what they got going on to be part of the show.
Yeah. That's fair too.
That absolutely fair. Absolutely fair. Like if somebody specifically says that, you kind of have no choice but to respect those wishes, because if they want their personal remain personal, no problem. We'll figure something else out.
That's right. It's totally understandable. You wouldn't have wanted Vince McMahon to let anything that was going on with Sable or Trish Stratus be on Raw, because that would have just been, allegedly. Yeah. He's just as evil as I am. That's another interesting take from Liz. She could say that, but again, I'm all for people not wanting their personal life on on Front Street, but I also feel though that if you're going to put it on Front Street, you could certainly make some reference to it on the show. So, like, if you don't post any social media pictures, or you kind of keep it out of the public eye on all things, then yes, respect that privacy. However, if you're posting shit on social media all the time that goes against your, your wrestling show, then, maybe consider putting a tiny bit of it on your wrestling show just so that it lends some credibility to it. Of course, like I always say, if you're not going for credibility in anything else you do, real life doesn't matter. So just leave that shit alone.
Right.
As long as we got people coming in from other dimensions and fucking, the equal intergender matches and everything like that, as long as we're doing that kind of stuff, yeah, you could keep your relationship a secret. It's not important. Realism is clearly not a goal here.
Yeah, I keep going back to something that Jarrett recently said on one of his podcasts, where he said, like, when it comes to using real life and personal issues in a storyline, the place where the line is drawn is by the person who's actually living it.
Sure. Yeah. He was in reference to the someone talking about his wife, right? That
Yeah, I
passed
think
away.
I think they're talking about the stuff with him and Kurt Angle and Karen.
Oh, that too. Yeah. It was Kurt saying something about his daughter, something about his kids or something too.
Oh yeah, he was saying something like he was going to make his kids orphans.
Right. Yeah.
And then, or something to the effect of I don't remember if he actually said like something about being their daddy. I don't remember.
Yeah, when
oh yeah, during like 08, 09 when Jarrett was babyface and had just come back.
Yeah, when they were talking about it on My World, they don't really get specific with what too specific with what Kurt said, but they were more talking about Jarrett's reaction in an interview, that he was doing, and saying in the interview that he had a problem with something. And that's another issue where you've got a person that's
right. Are they shooting or working in that interview?
Right. People do things in character. And of course, a guy like Jeff Jarrett's always going to be working, right? Like he's going to be working this stuff because that's just that old. You're still protecting the business regardless of what. And that's the stuff that I am constantly preaching of, like, yes, even though this business is stupid and ridiculous, but it's like, for you still are supposed to protect that part. You're not supposed to just give people what they want and just admit everything's phony. So you always have to try to find creative ways to work with it. And of course, Jeff Jarrett's going to do that. And it's relevant today because when people on WWE's The Bump or whatever are asking Gunther what he thinks of the Ultimate Warrior and Bret Hart and other Intercontinental champions, the answers that he gives are becoming like headline news, when it's just like, bro, he's in character answering these questions, right? You realize he doesn't have heat with Bret Hart, right? You realize that, of course, he's going to say the Ultimate Warrior wasn't a great, a champion, because that's what somebody like him would say. He's not trying to, but that's what you get when you have, all these fucking marks running the entire other side of the business. So
yep, I think those at the top have figured out a way to utilize the dirt sheet writers and reporters and kind of use them to further business, but not in the correct way, I don't think.
No. I mean, look at some of these fucking what is this? Hold on, let me just pull this up live. Look at these kind of headlines that we're talking about. Eric Bischoff on Dwayne The Rock Johnson potentially running for president. Oh, how about this one? How about this one compared to what we were just talking about? WWE's The Undertaker on dream match with AEW's Sting. Quote, I'd have killed him. What? You mean Mark Calloway was going to try to murder Steve Borden in the ring? Oh my God, let me click this and read this article.
Yeah, clearly in character. Clearly, like if you say he's going to kill Sting, that's obviously in character.
Yep. Adam Copeland explains why his final WWE SmackDown beats WrestleMania.
Oh,
Oh, just to our recent point. Gunther explains why his WWE Intercontinental title run is special. Oh, special, is it? Let me click that. Oh, we got another one right here. He explains differences between wrestling Chad Gable and The Miz. I wonder if this is from a completely different interview. But you split up into two different articles. Why don't you just transcribe Gunther's interview? How about that? How about you do that? Just since that's what you're gonna do. So
it's turned into sound bites and pieces for clicks and headlines.
That's it. That's all.
Like if you can take an interview and get 3 different articles out of it, that's 3 different sets of clicks and advertisements you're getting.
Yep. Not me though. I have ad blockers turned on. Chris Will has a random question. Who were a couple inspirations for you guys when getting into the business? That's a good question. Who inspired me to get into the business? Or, I don't know. Do you have a clear answer for this?
I do. Very easy for me.
Okay.
Rock and Austin. I love them as performers. I love them as characters. And it's like, I want to do what they're doing.
Interesting. My answer is a little different because I never wanted to be a wrestler. I was never, everybody has the dream, they have the dream. I saw this on TV. I said, I want to do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't mean to make light of it, but it's just, you hear it a lot, right? And I never had a dream. I said, I am perfectly content to let other people do this so I can watch it. I'm fine with that. That's what I want to see. And when it got to a point where, things that were going on in my life converged with, the fact that pro wrestling was in what I considered to be sort of like a very, I thought in 2003, 2004, things were taking a huge slide. That's imagine now. But back then I was just like, I'm looking at Gene Snitsky kicking babies and stuff, and I'm just like, or Shane McMahon with his testicles being electrocuted with a car battery, or anything that they're doing, and I'm just like, I don't know, guys, this is not. So it got to, there was a lot of complicated factors I won't get into here and tell my entire life story, but just one thing led to another. And it essentially ended up with, the arrogance, the absolute, naive arrogance of me basically acting like Thanos grabbing the Infinity Gauntlet and saying, I'll do it myself, and just packing up my bags and moving across the country to the building where all these people that I'm seeing now, like the John Cena's and the Batistas and the Randy Ortons, it's like, where Brock Lesnar, and where'd they come from? So I went there, and that's kind of how it started. But it wasn't like I was like, I will be a WWE superstar, and these people have inspired me because I want to be just like them watching them. Like, it was never that. It was, I will do whatever it takes to do something. Like, I don't know what it is, but I know nobody will probably listen to me if I'm some nerd writer. If I'm a Brian Gewirtz, people are less inclined to listen to me than if I hadn't. At least I can't say that I know what they've gone through, or that I'm one of the boys, or whatever my stupid younger brain was thinking at the time. Now, after being around it and a part of it, I still didn't it's not like I was watching a person and being like, I'm going to be like that. I was kind of looking at everybody Like I was watching what everybody's doing and trying to see what are the trends and what are people. Not that I was going to copy it, but you know, things like that. But I didn't have singular inspirations. I was inspired by a lot of different people, whether I was watching them on television. I saw, like at that current time, like around the time I was the most active and when I was probably the most on point in terms of like ring ability, knowledge, focus. Like when I felt like I was invincible and I could do everything, that I could just get in the ring with anybody. Like around that time, the hot thing on TV I thought was Mr. Kennedy and MVP. I was enjoying what they were doing. They were the only people in the WWE at that time that I was really enjoying watching. And Mr. Kennedy was a very nice guy. I met him and interacted with him before he went on to be a superstar, So like in that sense, it was inspiring. Like, oh, he's doing it. Like he was not doing it when I met him, and now he's doing it. So I'm liking that. He's entertaining, like that kind of thing. But yeah, I guess that's a long-winded answer to be a non-answer, but I appreciate Chris Winland's question. That's it's just a little harder to explain for me. A lot of complicated feelings around this, but we have got a show to do and time to fill, so I figure it's fine. Because really, this Impact is not gonna take an exorbitant amount of time to go through. That's for sure. Maybe we should get to going through it, and then we can get everybody off to bed and tucked in at a reasonable hour, so they can go back to enjoying their, Raw or football or whatever they like, whatever you people like. So. Okay, so this November 16th episode of Impact Wrestling, brought to you by TNA in the future, but still Impact now, kind of, starts with the opening package to let you know everything that's going on. You're already shaking your head.
Yep. The whole, again, this is the whole like, hey, we're gonna rebrand in a couple of months, but hey, keep calling us this. Like, come on. Have that shit ready to go when you're going to announce it.
Well, I'm saying that would have made sense. You always got to strike while the iron's hot, right? I mean, especially if the iron's not that hot to begin with and you're trying to forge something, you should not just dip it in and then pull the thing back out of the fire and then set it down and let it cool off and then try to hammer it in a few more weeks.
Why is it not bending?
Yeah, like we could take this analogy pretty far, I think, but instead, we're gonna get Kenny King and Sheldon Jeans versus the ABC. The Impact Tag Team title match that they didn't want, that Kenny didn't want. I'm sure Sheldon wants it. Kenny didn't seem to want it. He's kind of annoyed that he had to have it. He wants his digital media championship. Instead, he gets this much less prestigious tag team championship. So, do you know the Riddle of Steel? It's a good question for our Commissioner Santino. So, fun fact for Retro Rocket Review, Canada Spaceman, your fellow Canadian, Anthony Corelli, a.k.a. Santino Marella, was also a.k.a. Boris Alexiev in OVW, and his theme song was the theme song from Conan the Barbarian. So, there you go. But anyway, in this match, it took them about 10 minutes. They finally hit their finisher on Sheldon Jeans, and that's them going over. Do you have any thoughts on this match?
The only real note I have for this match was, do your job and get the illegal man out of the ring, ref.
Which ref was this? Was this the giant lady ref or?
I do not remember. All I remember was like the refs kind of stood there and watched while they did a bunch of double team stuff for more than the 5 count. And the only time they actually tried to do anything was like, hey, get out of the ring. Hey, you're not supposed to be in here. Hey, go to your corner. Like without actually getting physical.
Hmm. Well, that's a problem. One of those things you see these days, it's like uh whenever somebody's on the top rope in 2023, that'd be 5 count disqualification 10 times before they ever even get down. Like you would count to 5, but you could do a 50 or 60 count for how long they're up there setting up their elaborate suplex or Spanish fly or whatever it takes them so long to do up there. But it's supposed to be a 5-second count for you to get off the top rope because you're not supposed to be up there.
Why can't we have that be the finish to a match and enforce that, get that rule over, and you can advance the story that way?
You know why? Because then nobody will get their shit in.
Yep.
So we got to get our shit in. Therefore, top rope counts are banned. But anyway, not speaking of banned per se, but another piece of news that you're not really seeing over these, WrestleLink or whatever websites. I didn't see it anyway. Maybe I just have to look really hard because it's probably buried under mountains of podcast sound bites. But I hear that Kenny King asked for his release and was granted it.
Yep, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately for
Impact.
TNA.
Yeah.
TNA, yeah. Fortunately for him, if he can get a job somewhere.
Yeah, if he can go to WWE or AEW, good for Kenny. Good for him.
Yeah. He's not going to go to WWE probably. He's too old and he's too talented, and they're just going to put him with they would just put him with the Street Profits anyway. But wherever he can go to earn a living, he's worth watching. But this is just more of the pattern of, at least he has a flunky to take the pin for him rather than like a Deonna Purrazzo who just has to take all the falls herself, or anybody else that's the writing's on the wall, right?
And to be fair to Sheldon Jean, he's had enough like character and story development just with his ties to Kenny where he can be okay and build off that.
I mean, yeah. That's clear. Was he always training his replacement? Is that always how it's been, like since they got together? Did they just say,
honestly would not
hey,
surprise
you're a tall black guy, you're a tall black guy, you should be a tag team? Is this the Tony Gurria? Is he still, I thought he passed away. Is he not? Is he agenting matches over in Impact?
Honestly, that would not surprise me if they're like, okay, let's pair them together, have Kenny King kind of give him the rub, get him ready to be like, okay, once Kenny leaves, he's his replacement. I could easily see that kind of mentality from the get-go, pairing them up.
Well, they won't have to worry about it anymore. They will have to worry about MK Ultra. So they get a vignette here.
And I gotta say, I dig this dynamic of where Masha speaks in Russian and then Kelly translates in English. Like that just, I'm sorry, to me that just works. For them, that works perfect.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's fine. I'm fine with it. Just keep doing it. I did see I saw Jordan Grace post a meme. It showed like a picture of MK Ultra, and then like someone had made like a new, like the like a TNA banner for like like the lower third, and it says the lesbians, and then yeah. So that was her ribbing Masha, and Masha was like, the reason I saw it is because she reposted it, or retweeted, or requoted it, or whatever. It was like, basically, so
I mean, you can't deny those undertones. I mean, they're there. They can't be like ignored. It's those undertones are clearly there.
Right.
But you can do it in a way where it's like kind of hint like Al Snow talked about, where it's like you can have the door open and a bunch of smoke billow out without actually showing anything happen. Kind of like that.
Right. Or we can just do it. Hot lesbian action, pal. Right on TV. Let's just get a nice 69 position right there. And some other stuff. Let's get some toys in there. Nope, they're not even willing to take chances on Access TV, so we're not going to be doing any of that, and rightfully so. All right. The highlight of the night for me, I don't know about anybody else. I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to Will Ospreay's match. Spoiler alert for Will Ospreay's match. I was like, seeing it. But here we have Moose. He gets full entrance in a singles match. We're getting a lot more of this lately, which, it's starting to give me a little bit of hope that they know where they're going and that they're going to get something closer to what you were angling for with your Bound for Glory.
I could definitely see, like, at Hard to Kill, them flipping the belt back to Moose. I could definitely see that happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's time. It's time now. Especially if Shelly holds on to it all the way till then. It's like, now it's really time. You got to get this. You got to stop this right now.
Yeah, this shit's stale as fuck.
Yeah. But anyway, yes, Moose. And, Heath is the opponent, but that's fine too, I guess. He's another guy who supposedly is finishing up his run here. So look out, free agency. Here comes Heath. Oh, baby. He's got kids. He's going to need a job soon.
I don't give a damn about your kids.
Yeah. Let's talk about your kids. I got kids too. I don't give a shit about your kids. Yeah. Well, they have a match. Moose is Moose. So, even little things that he could work on, just tiny things he could work on. Like, for example, when he, what was it? He had, he grabbed a headlock on Heath just because that was the spot. And then Heath backs him into the ropes and Moose breaks the headlock to put his arm on the rope, because you just instinctively, every time you hit those ropes, you want to get your arm hooked around the rope. But when you got somebody in a headlock, it's better if you keep the headlock on, for realism. So just tiny things like that the fans aren't noticing because half the wrestlers don't do it anyways. But
yeah, and that spot you could do is hold the headlock. He goes to shoot you off. You stop and hold the headlock. Not difficult.
Or even if you just go with the shoot off, but you wouldn't break your own headlock. Right. The idea is he's got to break it for you. That's the whole reason he's pushing you off in the first place, is to get the headlock off. If you don't have a headlock on, why does he need to push you off anymore? As soon as you go to the ropes, he should just get out of your headlock and then not go into a spot, right?
Right. Or you could have easily built that where you go to shoot him off. He holds it. Okay, it doesn't work. Give him a few shots. Shoot him off. Then he breaks it, sell the head, take the shoulder tackle.
Yeah. I'm also not a fan of grabbing the headlock just because. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Where, like, people will be, like, punching each other and then someone grabs a headlock, but the guy's already walking him back. Like, I don't want to Irish whip you, so I'm just going to have you grab a headlock just so I can push you off. Rather than thinking like, I have to push this guy off because he has a headlock on me that I can't get out of. It's the whole psychology of the move. We could do the rest of this show just on headlock psychology. I could tell you how to have a whole match with nothing but fucking headlocks if you wanted. I don't think that's that interesting to everybody else, but my point is just that as great as Moose is, we all have little things that can make us even greater. And I'm not going to bother commenting on a match with, the ABC or whatever. They've got so many things I would have to talk about that without their video up on the screen to point it all out, there's no point in me giving you a rundown of their match. And of those smaller flippy guys, they're some of the better ones. So you can imagine how long these impact attacks could be if I had Stevie Richards' vibe board. But anyways, regardless, like Moose is not about having technical wrestling matches, and he is about a presence that you get to enjoy watching. And so I see those little details. They're less important because he's got a lot of the other aspects right. His presentation and the way he is, the way he works his matches, not rushing too much. He's got some tiny bad habits, but that's acceptable. Everybody does something. But anyway, Myers gets involved here, and it almost backfires. But before anything too terrible happens, Heath gets speared, and then Myers and Moose proceed to get ready to kick the shit out of Heath, and then Rhino makes the save. And then he sort of like the way they do this, where Rhino's coming in, and Moose kind of leaves Myers to get speared. Because Myers getting beaten up and Moose is halfway up the entrance ramp, like clutching his briefcase like a small child, like that he's protecting, which is just great. And it's subtle enough because when Myers comes back later, which he'll come right back, and I'll just go to that before I throw it back to you real quick, because they go to commercial, and then when they come back, it's them coming through the door backstage, and Myers is selling, but he's not complaining about getting left by Moose, but you could see that that's something that happened. So that's for the viewers. He's not going to notice that necessarily because he's too busy getting his ass kicked. But maybe he'll go back and look, and then the next time we see them, he'll say, hey, you kind of left me high and dry with Rhino last week or whatever. But Moose basically says, like, he's tired of Rhino and he's going to end his career at Final Resolution. And I was like, oh God, another pay-per-view? Okay, fine. So that's that situation. So any thoughts on Moose, the match, the post-match, whatever you have to say about
it? From a storyline perspective, I get why Rhino got involved because Heath is his buddy, but last we saw Rhino, he was involved in a storyline where he wants to try to end Macklin's career because Macklin tried to end his. What happened to that?
Yeah, what happened to that? I demand answers, Scott D'Amore. All right. Would you like to put Moose over some more? Or?
Moose is Moose. He's awesome. Anything he touches is great. Like you said, just those small little things to make him even better than he already is. He's Moose.
He's Moose. This is the Moose, actually. We haven't called it that in a while because sometimes he's left off of shows entirely. But he's always here with us. Well, here's some people that are with us. The Rascals now, featuring Myron Reed versus Taurus, Laredo Kid, and finally the Juice has come back to Impact or TNA or something. So we get a nice trios match, as it's known. And we get K-Dog on commentary. So Conan putting the cans on, sitting with the guys and saying stuff and putting things over and advertising his show he's got coming up and whatever else. And so, yeah. And then, so Lucha Libre happened until Taurus hits the Destination Hellhole on Myron Reed, of course. Why wouldn't they? When they beat the Kid coming in, and why would this happen unless K-Dog was sitting right there front and center? Like, who the hell on this Lucha Libre team, who the hell has been winning matches around here that they're just going to get a win over the Rascals? Like, if Conan's not there, this is not that finish. I can almost guarantee you that.
Right. You could have easily done something where you have the Rascals go over Dirty, and then like something happens post match, and then Conan steps in. They'd have their babyface moment and run off the heels.
Right. But no. And that's what they would have done. But it's Conan's there, so they're like, they're like Jay Sherman, look, we put the Lucha guys over. Look. Such a pandering booking decision. You could pander even in booking. You know? But that's fine. Whatever. I don't give a shit about the Rascals. Beat them all you want. It's fine. Maybe I wouldn't have necessarily if this is the only thing you brought in Myron Reed to do, then okay. But if you have any plans for him going forward with the Rascals and you're gonna make it a 3-man group, if he's supposed to be the Desmond Xavier this go around, then maybe pin
not
one of the other two.
Not the way to start it.
I would pin the Hitler mustache kid.
They wouldn't have if we're trying to actually build this new group as a group, they wouldn't have gone under.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're not. But we got.
And again, if you needed to get that babyface moment, you still got to have the Rascals go over Dirty and have the baby faces get their comeuppance at the end of the match, especially if who and who's not coming back. Not that hard.
Right.
And then the next week you get the heels get their heat back on like Taurus and Laredo Kid.
Right. Not that they haven't got enough heat on Taurus. Taurus has probably been spray painted as many times as anybody else at this point. But that's fine. He's got a mask to protect him. Or does he? Or is that his real face?
Actually,
I think it might be his real face.
That might have been who Trey originally turned heel on was Taurus.
Might have been. I can't keep this stuff straight in my head anymore. My brain, as it over the years and as it fills up with information, pushes other things out. And it knows that Impact Wrestling results are not in the keep pile. So they usually just get crumpled up and thrown away immediately. Josh Alexander and Will Ospreay warm up, respectively, for their match later. And then we get a mixed tag team match with Burt Macklin, Kylan King versus Bully Ray and Jordan Grace. I ain't watching this. What happened?
It was a complete nothing burger. Like the only thing that mattered was what happened after the match with
that I do have notes on.
Yeah. Other than that, it was basically just an absolute nothing match.
Okay. Well, anyway, Jordan Grace wins, and then Bully brings this giant cup into the ring, way more giant than his Call Your Shot cup and gold. And he like does the thing where he's like, I don't want to hand this over to you, but I'm gonna reluctantly hand you this thing that you won, and I'm gonna shake your hand and I'm gonna raise your hand. Like this is not like a championship match that you just lost your championship to. This is a annual event that is not defended by the previous winner. So what the fuck are we doing?
If this would have been done at the end of the Call Your Shot, this would have made sense. But it wasn't, so it didn't.
No, it didn't. It was done the night after, which is now 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out. So, but regardless, yeah, you got to do it immediately following the match. But even then, it's not your trophy to give away, you know? That's like, you know, last year's Super Bowl winner doesn't have to present the Lombardi trophy to winner next year. It's completely unrelated to you. Get the fuck out of the ring. Your zip up hoodie with your hands in your pockets all the time. All right. Sunny Kiss versus Trinity. Was this for the title? I forgot.
No, it was non-title.
Non-title. All right. Well, I believe this is one of, if not your first look at Sunny Kiss in the ring. Any impressions?
Obviously, there's a lot of character and character work in there, which is for that character, it works. And I thought this was a actually very decent babyface match for both characters. Like they played off each other very well, I thought. Where it's kind of like just two friends going in there to see, okay, who's a better wrestler, but we're also going to have fun while we're doing it and respect each other.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this would have been a good blow off to like a babyface angle. But that's the problem, is that we're getting a lot of these blow offs on free TV that should be advancing angles instead of concluding them.
Well, clearly they had no plans for this, so it was more of a, hey, you want a match next week? Okay. And then here it is. So if you want to turn it into an angle, okay, but they didn't. So I don't remember. Did anybody get the face in the ass spot? Because they both do this. The one where they're in the corner, facing the corner, and they grab them with their legs by the head and pull them in back. Like they pull them in, and then their face goes in the ass.
Might not have been that specific spot, but I know at some point somebody's face is in somebody's ass.
Sure. Should have been those goddamn lesbians. Get MK Ultra. Damn it. Yeah. So, well, maybe anybody in the chat if they remember, but they both have that same signature move. Trinity and Sunny both have that same move. So, I was wondering, it'd be a battle of the. I don't know what the gimmick name is for that move. It's hard enough to describe, but.
And then you have Rikishi come in and be like, "Hey, somebody close to me said like, hey, you're trying to do your ass thing. Let me show you how it's done."
Yeah. Yes, his is much less athletic than theirs. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, having Rikishi walk in to show them how to do it would make sense considering who Trinity's married to.
That's right. That's his daughter-in-law, who he disowned for some reason, because it's cool to appropriate black culture, just not marry a black woman. But anyway, never mind that episode of Total Divas. Let's just say that the finish was the Trinity hits the Bubba Bomb, which is that sit-out full Nelson bomb into a...
That was kind of like my only like, huh, about this match. Like, wait a minute, you're going home with a full Nelson bomb?
Full Nelson bomb. Into a rolling cradle pin. She beat somebody else with that recently. It was who did she work last? It was somebody not like in a major title match. It wasn't Mickie James. It wasn't Deanna. But she beat some regular person with that.
Yeah, that's kind of a tough one. I do not remember.
It was the last match she had. We can't even remember. So there you go. Again, this is not getting stored. This is not in the keep pile. Poof, goes over. I do remember though that she's recently used this as an alternative to tapping out, somebody. Yeah. Any other thoughts on this, or are we ready to move on?
Let's keep rolling.
Yeah. Josh and Will walk. I know y'all be loving this shit right here. All right. Motor City Machine Guns promo on, I guess they're having a match with Josh Alexander and Zack Sabre Jr. Is this at the final point?
Final resolution.
Turning resolution? Hard to point? Kill resolution?
Certainly ain't hard to point during WrestleMania season.
Sure ain't. All right. Well, randomly, Josh Alexander is teaming up with a guy that's in a faction who hates everyone, but I guess he's just going to randomly tag against the Motor City Machine Guns. So, All right. Way to book it. Um, and then we close our show with Josh Alexander versus Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay, the much touted Will Ospreay, he's in town. He just tore it down with Mike Bailey to the delight of Canada Spaceman, and he is here again to do it with the walking weapon. So that is your television main event, which would be a main event anywhere in the world. So I'll go to you first. Here's Will Ospreay in a match. You got to see the Mike Bailey match or no? I forget if you had to stop watching before that went on.
I did get to see that match. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And I'll
So
say
you saw that,
yeah.
and then you see this. What's the difference to you?
It didn't really feel like there's a whole lot of difference. Just him adapting to the style of the person who's in the ring and then putting together a match that's kind of the same layout, but with different moves, just adapting to who he's in the ring with.
Yes.
And I'll say this much about Ospreay from what I've seen. The guy is charismatic. I think he has the it factor. I really wish he just quit killing himself in the ring. He doesn't have to do it. He can get by on his character and charisma. That is clearly there. I mean, he has it.
Now remember, this is the toned down Will Ospreay.
And this Ospreay, I liked this Ospreay. If this match had been a blow off on a pay-per-view for a face versus face angle, this would have been a fantastic match. Just thrown away on free TV with no buildup and no stakes. It just kind of felt like, all right, you're clearly just killing time. You have nothing else you're just kind of throwing in the towel. Like, all right, what can we do to fill 30 minutes of time?
Right. I don't know if anybody that bought a ticket for this knew that they were getting it. They probably just was like, Impact Wrestling, I'll buy a ticket. And then they get this.
And the main thing that's really been I've been questioning about what they've been doing with Will Ospreay during his time in Impact, where it's like, okay, this guy is not signed. He's not sticking around. Why is he going over your top talent?
Well, at this time, this was a potential landing spot. I know in his mind, he never was going to do it, but he at least led them on to believe that they could get him.
Yeah, but the thing, if you're Impact and your competition is AEW and WWE for signing this guy, it's like, are you really going to be landing him, or is it going to be one of those two?
Well, you're not going to land him if you job him out.
I mean, and again, it's true, but at the same time, like, you have to know, like, if your competition is WWE and AEW and they're trying to sign him, you kind of have to have an understanding of, it's not going to happen. So it's like, okay, we've got to be lucky to have him for what we do have him, get what we can out of him, and use him to elevate our show and our roster.
So what would you suggest? A fuck finish where somebody that's got an angle with Josh comes in and fucks with him, and then they just throw the match out? Would that be a preferred finish to just a clean job on Josh's part?
I would have had Josh go over clean.
Josh goes over clean. With Conan there? No, just kidding. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't. Who knows what I would do? It's nothing I ever wanted to do, so I don't really have an opinion on what I would do in this situation. But I can say that I see what they're thinking. See what you're thinking.
I totally get where they're coming from, and I know I understand what their thought process was. But at the same time, you kind of have to be realistic and understand, like, if WWE and AEW is also in the bidding war for this guy, you're not winning that. I'm sorry, you're not winning that. So it's like, okay, we got to be lucky to have him for what we have him for, and use him for the time that we have him to elevate our show and our roster.
Yes. Well, they didn't do that because, like I said, these are the guys that let the guys that they always job out go over the other guys just because Conan was sitting there. So they're marks. You are smarter to this business apparently than they are. But I also, as a fan, right? Like if I'm looking at a guy like Will Ospreay, even though I'm not saying I'm specifically not a fan of Will Ospreay's, but I'm not a fan of Will Ospreay's. I'm completely neutral on Will Ospreay as far as in this business, as a performer, as a person. I don't know him. Just all I know is that he's the kind of guy that gets a tattoo of attendance. That's the only thing that I can say definitively about Will Ospreay, but that tells me a lot. But regardless, just as an observer, just as a casual observer, as a fan, if I can even divorce myself, but I do get to be a fan at times when there's people that are good enough that make me feel like a fan, like a Moose or whoever else, right? It's possible. I don't get that from Will Ospreay, but I know that if I'm watching Impact and I see everything I see, I watch Impact, I watch New Japan, I watch WWE, I watch AEW, I watch, whatever, keep up with NWA, MLW, all these tertiary promotions and everything else that's going on in indie wrestling, taking the temperature of the entire professional wrestling industry. If Will Ospreay's coming into Impact, there's nobody here that's beating him. Nobody. Not nobody. So well, maybe Moose, but nobody else, because the level he's been pushed at on the world stage tells me that, I'm sorry, Josh Alexander, you're good enough to be the champion of TNA, but you ain't beating Will Ospreay. You ain't beating an IWGP heavyweight champion. You're not beating, this guy that's going over on, Kenny Omega or whatever they're doing with him in the world outside of here. If I was a fan and I saw Will Ospreay do a job to Josh Alexander, I'd never watch TNA again. I'd be like, what a joke. Because I would be insulted that you would bring somebody in. That'd be like somebody that'd be like an indie show bringing Seth Rollins to do a clean job for their local champion. Not going to happen. Makes no sense. That's just me as a fan. Now, I get what you're saying, but what you're saying is so old school that it comes from an era where there wasn't national television. So you could, and even then the NWA would do hour Broadways with the champion. They didn't let the fucking hometown hero beat Ric Flair, Harley Race, Terry Funk, Dory Funk, those guys. So that's how I look at it. Josh Alexander is no Will Ospreay, regardless of what I think. Even if I thought Josh Alexander is better, even if I like Josh Alexander better, even if I'm more entertained by him in the world stage. And this ties back all the way to what we were talking about with the WWE not acknowledging anybody. If I'm acknowledging what's going on planet Earth, I got to put Will Ospreay over. Or you just don't make this match, or you do a fuck finish to get an angle for Josh going forward and let Will Ospreay be like, well, that's y'all's business. I'm out of here. And then nobody has to take a loss. Right. So those are your options. But all that being said, I say all that to say a lot of chatter, Brandon, a lot of chatter. I say all that to say, I like your thought process. I do. That should be a thought process. It's just a little outdated, and it would be completely egregious and arrogant on Impact's part to do that with this current situation. But I get the idea. You got to respect yourself as a promotion. So,
and again, and I recognize all that you said. And then I think that there is a way you can figure out a finish that's like accomplishes both. It doesn't insult the fans' intelligence. It's just basically like getting together with the talent and just collaborating and figuring out a way to get there.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we all know Will Ospreay now is not signing with Impact Wrestling, but they tried to placate him with a win. As for the match, God damn it, I've seen this. Will Ospreay has matches where it's like a war of attrition. He will just hit you with every move that he knows, and in turn, you hit him with every move that you know. And it's like, who can survive these moves? Is basically what it ends up doing. When they say he's a toned down version, or when you hear that kind of thrown around, or him saying he's adapted his style or done all this, all that really means is he's eliminated a lot of the nonsensical flipping that he used to do. He hasn't changed like anything about what he does that's dangerous. He just doesn't flip when it's completely unnecessary anymore. Like he used to flip around like doing running the ropes. He used to do all the back flips and flips out of the ring just to land on his feet, or flips over the corner, or flips off the guardrail, or flip. Not even the impact flips, just flipping just to show he could flip. Doing the superhero pose landing, face-offs with Ricochet, and just all these things that were so phony that no one would do them in a fight. He cut that part out, and he left in all the shit that's very dangerous and could cause injury to himself and others. So when he hits you with those high-impact moves, like those tiger drivers, and you know what I mean? Like those things, just as dangerous as ever. So don't be fooled when you hear people talk about the toned down, adjusted Will Ospreay.
Yeah, it's more like he's learned how to cut the shit out that's like fake and phony, for the most part.
For the most part, there's still some stuff in there.
Like if this Will Ospreay had been who he was when he first started, where he's at now, he'd be on a different level.
Yes, which is his catchphrase, which he stole from Okada. But whatever. I would say it was gifted to him, so it's okay. It's not stealing if it's a gift. But yes. So that was your main event. If you like that sort of thing, that's the sort of thing that you like, as Jim Cornette would say. But for me, I don't like it. I am bored with it. I am bored of white dudes doing moves to each other. That is boring. So, not for me, but, to each their own. And this is what people consider the pinnacle of modern wrestling. They'll see a match like this, and I'll have to hear about it on social media for days. About how Will Ospreay and Josh Alexander tore it down, or Will Ospreay and Mike Bailey tore it down. Even Conan even mentioned the Mike Bailey match when he was completely commentating a different match.
He sure did.
So we know he liked it, and he said that he liked it on the podcast. So keeping it 100, which features Ben Hameen at times. So check that out. But all due respect to Conan, not my flavor. Don't care for it. Only because I see it so much. If this kind of match were the exception, it would probably be a lot more interesting. But I see people trying to do this match that aren't qualified to do this match too. At least these guys are qualified to do this match. So I'll say that.
Right. If it was only guys at the level of a Josh Alexander and Ospreay doing this match, well, then that'd be something different.
Mm-hmm. And Josh Alexander continues to not, as Liz is saying, like, you put that comment right as I thought of her as a person that, not particularly a fan of Josh Alexander for sure. And some of the other people we've seen, over the months and stuff of talking about Josh Alexander, not that in love with Josh Alexander. And I continue to see these same things of where he's kind of just doing the same thing I described as Will Ospreay doing, where it's just like, okay, we're going to do these moves to each other, and it's a war of attrition story. Like, who can survive all these high impact power moves? And then he mixes in an ankle lock every once in a while, because he has wrestling headgear. So he's got to wrestle a little bit, but a lot of it is shit like that power bomb on the knee, on his own knee thing. And
how's that not a finish? How is that not a go home?
because he's got an even crazier one. Double underhook vertical pile driver. I guess that's even more violent than a backbreaker to the knee, or power bomb to the knee, whatever. I just, but he, even though he does different moves than Will Ospreay, essentially it's still just I'm gonna do my moves match. He's a habitual move doer. That's what I will classify these type of performers as. There are guys that are workers, and there are guys that are move doers. And then there's some guys that are neither, but they still have to plan out their whole match, and then they don't do anything interesting in it. But those are more toward the lower part of the pecking order. The top level is like move doers. I'm doing this move. Okay, let's lay on the ground for a few seconds after you kick out, and then I'll go for another move, and you'll reverse it, and you'll hit me with a move, and then I'll kick out, and then we'll lay there for a couple seconds, and we'll go into something else. Maybe we'll do some double reverses or triple reverses. Maybe I'll stun you with a forearm, and you'll stand there, and then I'll hit the ropes, and then you'll catch me with something coming back off the ropes. It's like I can just, I see it before it happens.
Man, there is one experience I have that I will never forget. I was reffing a match. It was between Jonathan Gresham. One team was Jonathan Gresham and the current, what's the name he goes by now? Apollo Crews. They were on a team, and they were wrestling these guys called the Hooligans. And they were very close friends. They trained together. They came up in the business together, and they basically had a match where it's just like, all right, we're going to trade moves with each other and do stuff back and forth. And I was basically reffing, counting. I will never forget, at some point during the match, somebody yelled, "Somebody please win."
Somebody in the crowd. That's I would have yelled that from the apron if I was tagging in that match. Yeah, man. When you're on an indie show, you don't have those time constraints, so you're supposed to kind of, but technically you don't. So these people just do whatever they want to do. Put that comment back up. Think you're just gonna get away with that retro rocket review? What'd you say? We need to do something after any wrestling show I watch on YouTube, like this H Energy show. Then goddamn Jim Cornette podcast appear. Yeah. I think, funny enough, there's times when I think Jim Cornette has more patience than I do for this stuff. But now I can't even trust him, like when it comes to like talent evaluation. His opinion is completely useless now. I mean, he's had months and months to watch Jay White, and every time he talks about Jay White, I can feel him sneering as he's saying it. And then he still tries to make apologies for guys like Roderick Strong, Adam Cole, any of these people that he personally knows and likes or whatever. But this guy that's better than every one of those guys put together will ever be, and he just refuses to see it. He's getting worked by it.
I was about to say, like, is Jay White talking to him on the side and feeding him information?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Probably not.
No. So, I mean, but that's fine. But that's not the only case. That's just one case. There's he refuses to watch any Pretty Deadly matches just because they had to do the vignettes that WWE had them do. Like, what does that got to do with it? Like, you should be smarter than that. You sound like a mark saying shit like that.
That's sports entertainment crap. I don't like that sports entertainment crap.
Yeah. So don't watch their wrestling match. You, the tag team specialist, But we can talk about how great FTR is because they watched old Midnight Express stuff and just copied it and didn't understand how it works, but they just copied it anyway and did your throwbacks. But you're not going to watch, an actual good tag team do good. Not that anything they've done on SmackDown since they've been up there is, particularly noteworthy, but it's just a thing now. But yeah, man, I mean, retro, everybody's got their own their own opinion on it. You can't, or how he hates the Outrunners, as Media M5 said, which, again, he wouldn't say anything like what he's saying if he even had any education on who those guys are. But because no one educated him, he's just looking at them. And again, that's how a Mark thinks. They should be able to see through that stuff. He's too smart to be getting worked by fucking wrestling sports entertainment presentation of guys. He should be able to see through everything and see the talent that's there. That's the whole point of somebody like him.
Jim Cornette should be looking at a team like the Outrunners being like, okay, how can I manage them or be the manager of the team opposing them? Because like that'd be like that'd be right up his alley.
Yeah. So right. But it's just who you know and who you like. You know, that's it, and that's fair. You know, but I'd prefer to be more fair. Yeah, I would expect. I guess I expect more from such a a respected mind, because when it comes to things like the psychology of pro wrestling as a whole, or as a historian, or the importance of certain things like that is indispensable information. But it's evaluating current talent, it's no better than a dirt sheet writer at this point. I definitely don't I don't listen to his shows for that. I definitely don't do that. But that's fine. But everybody's going to look at it differently just because of their involvement in it. People can watch this stuff as fans, and because the most emotional investment that they have to put in it is, are they going to turn their TV on or not? It's very easy to be entertained by certain things or to let a lot of things go. For people like us, who have made sacrifices, physical and mental and everything else, and financial and everything, to try to pursue it, and then, or to try to like carry it forward, or have to be like burdened with the traditions and the things like that. Like, we can't just sit back and watch it and let things go, because we're like, this is supposed to be better than that. And then a lot of times when people do that, it comes off sounding bitter. But it's not that I wanted it for myself and I'm mad that these guys are getting it. I'm mad that the people that should be getting it aren't always getting it. I want everybody else to get it that deserves it. And by get it, I mean whatever it is: money, success, whatever they set out to achieve. I want that. I'm not bitter because I don't have that. I'm fine with where I'm at, what I'm doing. I don't want a job. I'm not looking for a job, not any kind of job. I don't even know if, Vince Russo always says I would consult. I don't think I would do that. Like, I don't even want to deal with it. I don't want to have people trying to convince. I got out as soon as I realized I'd have to convince people that they're wrong all the time, and that just wasn't a life for me. So I just said, okay, I'm out. But but we watch these shows, and it pains us because we were taught differently, and we have visions for what things could be and how people could be more successful. So when Brandon and I are out here saying, Will Ospreay match or whatever, it's nothing against Will Ospreay. We want Will Ospreay to succeed, but we want him to succeed more than this. We want everyone to succeed more than this, and nobody's really telling them how. And I don't know how many people are even left that know how at this point.
Yeah, it's like, to us, what we're seeing is a 4 when we know it could be a 9, and we want it to be a 9.
Right. And we're not saying that we specifically can guarantee we could make it a 9 or anything like that. We just know when it's not a 9. So that's basically how it is. So we try, and that's what we do. And hopefully we entertain you guys while we do it. And hopefully we've entertained you tonight at least as much as Impact Wrestling tried to entertain you. But it is a little bit more difficult when you have a little bit less to work with. I will say that. But much like Becky Lynch, despite her Jeopardy knowledge, we try to make lemonade. So, Brandon, Where can the people find you making lemonade?
I'll be making lemonade as well as chicken salad, as well as lemon chicken salad over on Twitter /trans at Transarchistia. I am also on twitch.tv /Miss Tia the Transarchist, and you can find me on Substack at HMG Brandon.
All right. As for me, you can find me at Opinion Haver on all of those social media platforms. It's great because I don't have to remember which one's which. They are all Opinion Haver. If I'm on them, it's Opinion Haver. If I'm not on them, it's Opinion Haver. I got a few accounts that I don't use. I don't use my TikTok account, but that name is locked up. I don't use my Snapchat account, but that name is locked up. So no one else can. If you see a pretender Opinion Haver on TikTok or Snapchat, then don't follow them thinking it's me. But also don't follow the real me because I won't be posting on there. But on all the things I do post that you guys already know, at Opinion Haver. And that includes twitch.tv as well. So we'll be doing some, as of this recording, we'll be doing some, I think it's $2 Tuesday tomorrow. So let's see what, I hesitate to say shitty, but we'll see what $2 game I will play that may just be a winner. There's a lot less winners than losers in this series, but we'll see what we got tomorrow. So if you're ever interested in anything like that, and if you're not there live, you can catch the replay as well. Then you've got every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, you have the Next Level Wrestling Review of Big Ray Hernandez, where we talk about wrestling that sucks, but from a different perspective. And then we've got, of course, they'll be going to the CW, but that's not going to be for like another year. So even though all the news is coming about their new deal, it doesn't go into effect till next October. And so we've got plenty of time to enjoy NXT on USA before they make the big move. God knows where the NWA will be by next year. Maybe they'll get up to with Simon Miller's YouTube numbers by then. Maybe they'll be able to increase up to Simon Miller level at YouTube. Yes, so that's there. Then, of course, you've got the Wreckage every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, where Chris Ams and Jimmy T and myself try to sift through after the collision. And man, this collision, oh man, it was so bad that like Chris, when the show was over, I was like, I think he missed significant chunks of the show in this review. So he didn't want to talk about the whole show. So, not the best show, but again, despite what AEW decides they want to deliver, I will deliver you guys entertainment. I'll be entertaining enough for everyone. Damn it. I'll get hopped up on caffeine and I'll start being funny. I thought I was pretty funny on this Wreckage. So if you didn't get to see this Wreckage, I believe it's up on Big Ray Hernandez's YouTube channel right now. And of course, it'll be at channelattitude.com. And then you can always check out Wrestling with Rip Rogers every Friday, a Q&A. This is your chance. You can ask Rip Rogers a question. You can definitely get your question maybe answered. I mean, you may not get the answer you want, but at least it can get answered, because most people are very uncreative with their questions, or they ask questions that they don't realize have been asked many times already. Thoughts on Mr. Perfect? Fuck. Shut up. You could ask anything. So ask anything. So check that out every Friday at their concrete time of noon Eastern. And then you've got Stevie Richards Fitness, Stevie Richards Wrestling Analysis, Stevie Richards Tech Channel, the T4 Tech Channel, reviewing techs and things, and the Big Fitness Show with Stevie Richards and Big Mike Barons. Stevie's newest fitness video I watched today was, are the Power Block dumbbells still the best dumbbells, locking dumbbells in 2023? I personally have a pair of Bowflex Select Techs I've had for like 20 years, and I still use them to this day. And he said they're absolute trash. Don't buy those. So too late. Where were you 20 years ago, Stevie Richards? But anyway, he's here now, and that's the important thing. So check out everything Stevie Richards is doing. He's not a hard guy to find. But we found, Elizabeth, with some breaking news. Look like Orton is the fifth man. And they wanted to announce it so that nobody thought CM Punk would be the fifth man at Survivor Series. So that's why. But anyway, yes. So we're going to wrap it up for now. Brandon, anything else to say before we get out of here?
Wrap that gavel up, B.
What the hell? All right, let's hit the wrap it up box on this for Brandon on the vet, and I don't have a sign off line.